Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Bryan.
Yeah, the brand makes no difference to me as long as it's gonna last and be reliable. One of the things that Jim did mention is the gas line running through the chimney needs to be lined, because it has the potential to cause issues because it's right up against the concrete. I don't know if that work has been included in any of the other bids either. And so that was one of the challenges. Yeah, it was, we asked to call the two train guys and one didn't respond at all. I think that's kind of where it was nice to have Jim come out. So,
Some of them are probably kind of frustrated because we've been doing this, bidding it and bidding it and bidding it and changing it and bidding it, and we could have a stack of 100 pages here, and contractors get sometimes a little PO'd when you keep doing that.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember Rainville.
I just, based on Councilmember Rickard's comment, I did go back to the spreadsheet, and the difference between the trains, between Air Comfort and Hidden Acres, was $1,740. I understand there were some variables as to what they were bidding, but that was the difference.
I think it was more than that. I don't have my spreadsheet in front of me, but what I was looking at was more than that.
Well,
What's the difference in the AC unit alone?
the AC unit alone is $375. Train bid $2,825, Hidden Acres bid $2,450. Air Comfort bid $2,825, Hidden Acres bid $2,450. Air Comfort bid $10,970 for the high efficiency.
On which percent
On
efficiency?
The train, 95%. And Hidden Acres was 9605.
No, that's a 97% efficient. If you look at the train from Air Comfort, 96 efficient is 13,725.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, thank you.
So there
Okay,
is considerable
all right,
thousands
okay.
there.
No, you're right. Thank you.
And again, I'm not opposed on who we go with. It's just, to me, by looking at this on paper, there's a lot of money there that is potential savings that, again, is tax dollar money that we have not budgeted for.
All right, well, what's council want to replace? One, both, all, and air condition both sides of the building? Make that decision and then get additional quotes. That's what we want to do. I personally think when you got two furnaces that are 32 years old or older, it's time to replace them. Efficiency, reliability. I think a properly sized air conditioner for the ducting we have, so we're not oversized and overcharged and inefficient. I think having a variable speed fan makes the air conditioner run more effectively, makes the furnace heat more effectively. And I would recommend that when we do rent out this place, we got a lot of money for rental last year. If people are using it, I think if they're using the kitchen and the bathrooms, it would make sense to have it air conditioned. So do we want to decide that the features or the equipment that was quoted here is what we want quoted? Want to do both furnaces?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember Rickard.
I agree. Let's figure out, I agree. I think if we're gonna do it, if we can find out and nail down exactly how we're gonna pay for it, and we have the funds there to do it, I think it's smart to do both now. And I think honestly, if you're gonna do both now, that contractor is gonna come back and say, well, I'm gonna give you a better rate because you are doing the amount of scope of work you are.
And that's what, apparently this one was a $900 discount for doing both, so. 920. All right, there's an opinion of doing the whole system. Would you also agree that it's worthwhile putting in the systems now to put air on both sides? Obviously easier if we didn't have to go through the wall there, but, and to Councilmember Bryan's point, we do have a copper line, a gas line running through a concrete joint, and that will corrode. That is not a safe condition, that needs to be remedied, whatever we do. Because the gas is coming from this side of the building and running through the wall, so.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Bryant?
it was also proposed that, because there's an existing, air intake coming from outside, that line, those lines on both sides should be able to be reused, and we can even vent one up through the chimney for the exhaust, so that can be in there anyway. I don't see, based on the age, why not do both and get them both in the air, with air conditioners, and then it's in, it's done, we don't have to worry about it breaking down.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember Rainville?
I believe we need to replace both and do the two separate air conditioners. We do have equipment in this building that's very, very old. And we have bids, there's some discrepancies in pricing. I'm trying to go back to that other bid here, and now I'll look at them over the weekend, but we do have a contractor that came out to us, has taken the time. I think we should go with Air Comfort. They are a local business, and I think we can depend on them to install as promised, to service us as promised, and let's get the work done. My fear is, Councilmember Bettinger said, we keep bidding this out, we'll have no one to bid it. And then we'll be trying to figure out why we didn't do something earlier.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Rickard?
two things. Number one, first, let's figure out how we're gonna pay for it. If we haven't figured out how we're gonna pay for it for sure, what's the point? You know, so we need to first agree on how, and we can use an arbitrary number of $15,000. That's padding it a little bit. We know based on this, we were what, 13.6-ish? Well, and then we know actually if we got 47.22, so, you know, you can figure out some, what, roughly 10,000, a little less. You know, how are we gonna, where are those gonna come from? Let's decide that first, and again, we have everything go out for sealed bids, and we always hammer, we pick the lowest one, but yet, again, based on what I'm seeing, and he may be, again, I don't know if these are apples to apples, but just based on what I see here, for that same efficient furnace, there's $3,000 difference. You know, we're talking about being financial responsible all the time. There's $3,000 you're just gonna.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Bryant?
I think we've figured out where the money can come from. With the money from the Ham Lake Chamber of Commerce and there's about $9,000 in those one-time revenue sources that are over budget. And with the extra $2,500 coming from the savings on the utilities from last year, that's $15,000. If you want to know specifics, I can give you specifics.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Bettinger?
I think if we're gonna pay for it and fund it, it should be with this year's budget money. We should be, are we let all the departments start spending last year's money? And I think we need to go through the budget and find ways to pay for it out of this year's money. And you might be able to find some more money. Last year, the Chamber of Commerce gave us a check in the fall, I think, for the video equipment and stuff. So we could maybe hit them up for some more money to help get us a little closer. But it should be funded out of this year's budget.
I agree with that.
All right, what's consensus? 2 furnaces, 2 air conditioners? Or other? I see yes, I see yes, I see yes.
If we come up with the money.
Okay. So now the money's the issue, so, all right. Do we need to get additional bids? We got 4, we asked for rebids from 2. 1 responded, 1 didn't.
I think we go back. You get at least 3, throw it out there and try to get at least 3 bids and say, and this time say, we know what we're doing this time. Before, when we got these bids, we were throwing stuff out there and, because we had no clue what we wanted to do or what we were gonna do. Now we have a game plan of what we wanna do and what we wanna accomplish. If we figure out where I'd like to, again, figure out where the money's gonna come from before we throw it out to bid, so then we can go to these contractors and say, we have the funds, we're gonna do this. It's a set project that we're gonna schedule based on the bids we receive. That would, if I were the contractor, I'd be much more motivated to bid that, knowing the funds are there and the project's ready, than just this, somebody's coming to me for a bid to get a bid.
And you could write almost specs for that you want a certain model with a certain percent efficiency. You got a sleeved gas line. I think we know enough from these other bids now, you could write up some specs pretty easily. And, and if you like the terrain that much, you want something compatible, you could find out what the terrain warranty is. So everything's, even if it's not a terrain, it's compatible warranty wise.
I have a friend who's a air contractor who's not, and I wouldn't ask him to bid this because he's a friend, but I can ask him in his opinion, what equipment is better than, if you're looking for longevity, who do you try to stay with and who do you stay away from?
You are right, though, there's a lot of like appliances, they're all made by the same company, it's just different, they go out to other factories with different names on them.
Yep. Yeah, and you get a lot of them where, because of that fact, this part from this brand will fit right into that one. But again, I think, just like any other project, if we're bid ready, and contractors know we're bid ready, it makes it a lot easier for them to bid, and I think they'll be much more motivated to bid. But I'm just, based on what I see right now, I think if we just pick and choose right now, we possibly could be throwing money away.
Well, I don't have a problem with money that we've put into savings for unbudgeted items from previous years, from savings from previous years on utilities, since this is utility related. I don't have as much heartburn over that, because there is money that's in our savings account, in our checking account, that this is not an ongoing activity. This is a one-time purchase for something that's been around for 30-some years. It's unfortunate that we haven't planned ahead for our physical structures and said what else is gonna wear out and what else do we need to address. But I think with the accounts that are available for this, it makes sense to use that and get this fixed. Again, I could see if we're budgeting for something it's an ongoing activity that we want to do, we should put it in this budget and work out of this budget. But this is something that certainly we could have been paying for last year when it first came up. This came up last budget cycle, when this furnace first went out. We limped through the winter and we got through, but I don't have a problem using those accounts and say we're cash ready, we have the cash in the account, we're cash ready to do this. We do have contributions from Ham Lake for a portion of it, there would be, if there's the equivalent, there would be an $800 rebate we cover up front and get rebate on that. So I don't have a problem with using the cash that way. Councilmember Rickard, would you be willing to call your associate and let us know that person's opinion of reliability and integrity of equipment?
This,
And if you would forward that to Corey, I'd appreciate that. Any other comments on the use of funds to pay for this?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Bryan.
in lieu, aside from, going through line by line and cutting everything X number of percent to come up with the money, I don't, wouldn't know where to, if that's what we wanna do, then.
What aren't we gonna spend this year, you're saying?
Right,
Predict that? Yeah, I think that again, we have the cash in the account, and it's not for budgeted items, as it says here. It's a reasonable thing. It's, again, we've gotten by without spending anything on this for 30 years. Probably should have been putting aside something for that. And in our new budgeting cycle, we need to take a look at our other equipment that could be near the end of its life expectancy in the next couple of years, and make sure that's part of our capital funds. Budget accordingly. But I think in this situation, it's appropriate to use those funds.
Mr. Ryan?
Councilmember Rickard.
And I guess I don't have a problem with that. Then you get to your point where, then why are we going through during budget time, line by line, trying to shave everything we can out of it? Because we're not having a rainy day like this, so it's,
I think it's important to be intentional about that. Put the money there for equipment, for emergencies,
but
and obviously do it at work. You got your planned maintenance, your unplanned maintenance, and your emergencies.
right, I mean, luckily, some people decided not to pay their taxes 2 or 3 years ago and caught up last year. And there was an insurance credit, if I remember right, that was the brunt of that unplanned income in those 2 line items, so.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Pettinger.
why don't we just ask staff to come up with some ideas on how we can pay for it within the existing budget? Because I'm sure that there's some items that we may have budgeted for that may not. There may be computers or maybe whatever that we can get by with not purchasing this year, and pay for it within our existing budget instead of looking for excuses to spend money from last year's budget or whatever. Let's try to stay within our budget.
Well, certainly an option, so. All right, so,
Mr. Ryan,
Councilmember Rickard.
quick question, and do we want to direct Corey to look into that for Tuesday, and see if we,
Lori's off tomorrow, and she'd like to get going tonight. I promised her we'd keep it moving along, so I apologize.
she told me an hour, so.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that the money is there in our account. Yes, we could ask staff to say, what do you think we're not gonna spend? But then you risk the budget shortfall this year when you know you've got reserve from last year. I mean, it's not like that money isn't there in the account. And that money isn't part of our budget for this year, so it's not taking anything out of what we planned for the budget this year. It's our savings account, if you will. We don't have it in the savings line, but it's in the checking account as unspent monies from previous years. So we could, but I don't know. You know, Lori's been on the job for years, maybe she can figure out, maybe Cory can figure out what we might not spend, but again, as much as we wrangled over the budget putting it in place, we assumed that we needed it for those items. I guess it kinda goes back to, we're on opposite sides of what the normal argument is, that we're asking staff to do things that may not be cost effective, because they're gonna have to project what they think they might not spend, yet they ask for that to be a budgeted item. And so I think it's putting them through unnecessary work when there's a reserve for an emergency, for an unusual expense. And I think it's certainly reasonable to use that reserve for something that's a one-time expense like this, so. I wouldn't be in favor of asking them to do that.